Welcome back to Chutti Mithran. We are going to be continuing with our Bobby Fischer saga with another exciting and brilliant chess miniature that he played against Svetozar Gligoric. And I would like you all to watch the video till the end because this game is nothing short of a pure positional struggle. Okay, let's dive straight into the game. Bobby Fischer opens the game with pawn to e4, and this game is one of my favorite Bobby Fischer games as it was never clear that Svetozar Gligoric had made any mistake, but after I carefully analyzed the game, Bobby Fischer's opponent simply moved the bishop to a wrong square and then it was all Bobby. Okay, Bobby opens the game with pawn to e4 and his opponent plays pawn to e5. Knight to f3, knight to c6 and bishop to b5. White goes for the Ruy Lopez, a6, Morpheus defense, bishop to a4, knight to f6 and here white castles. So white is saying if you capture my e4 pawn then I'm going to go rook to e1. Black goes bishop to e7, rook to e1. Now the white rook is defending the e4 pawn but black goes b5 immediately. Bishop to b3. As the black pawn was attacking the bishop, white goes bishop to b3 here. And after bishop to b3, Svetozar Gligoric sets up a little trap with the d6. And after d6, that's the idea. If white goes d3 here, then black has a good move that will enable himself an advantage. After d3, black is just going to go knight to a5 and this position is completely better for black. Why? For example c3, knight takes b3 and after queen takes b3, bishop to e6, queen to c2, black would gain a lot of space with pawn c5 and this b3 bishop is useful in attacking the f7 pawn. So in the Ruy Lopez and the Sicilian, you should never give up the light squared bishop. So after c6, white goes c3. Now if black goes knight a5, then white is ready to play bishop to c2. Black castles h3, h6 and d4. And this h6 move is known as the Smyslov variation. Vasily Smyslov used to play this variation against Mikhail Botvinnik and he had secured brilliant victories. So after h6, white goes d4. Rook to e8, knight bd2, bishop to f8 and knight to f1. And this was the slight inaccuracy I was talking about. After knight to f1, the main move in this position is bishop to d7. In those days, bishop to b7 was the common move and after everyone saw this game, they decided to move on with bishop to d7 earlier. It might seem like a slight difference, but you will see that this bishop to b7 move actually makes a huge difference in black's position. After bishop to b7, white goes knight to g3 and that's the idea my friends. White wants to go knight to f5 and this knight is actually invincible on f5. You can never kick it away from f5. And after knight to g3, knight to a5, black goes after the bishop, bishop to c2 and here knight to c4. Black knight seemingly gets a good outpost but in reality Bobby just plays b3 and this knight to c4 move has just wasted a lot of time for black. Black went knight to b6 here and a4 c5. So black is trying to somewhat create some counter play but to no avail. After c5, white goes d5 and he closes this bishop's diagonal. This bishop can never move, it has to go to c8 but before black goes bishop c8, black went c4. And after c4, white went a b4. And I thought that white was going to play a5 but he went b4 instead. And it might seem like a good move to play knight takes a4. Bishop takes a4, d takes a4, queen takes a4 and white has surrendered the bishop. But the thing is, in closed positions, the knight is always stronger than the bishop. The d5 and e4 pawns actually make up a closed positions, so this position would be completely better for white. So after b4, black went bishop to c8, bishop to e3, trying to attack the knight, bishop to d7 and here a5. So white closes the position, knight to c8 and now queen to d2. And look at this position my friends. Try to marvel at Bobby Fischer's brilliancy. After white went queen to d2, it might seem that This position is completely blocked, but in reality, black does not have any useful plan. His opponent just made one slight inaccuracy with bishop to b7, and in just 6 to 7 moves, this position is completely better for white. There are no active plans. Svetozar Gligoric tries knight to h7. He wants to exchange a few pieces with knight g5. And this is a method that you should follow when you do not have an active plan. You should try to exchange a lot of pieces as possible. So after knight to h7, white went king h2. Bishop to e7. Now black wants to go knight g5, but now knight to f5. So black goes with his plan bishop to g5, and this was once again an inaccuracy. A better move was actually bishop takes f5, and after e takes f5 bishop to f8. But even here after bishop to e4, even though white has doubled pawns, once again white does have a completely better position here. So after this bishop e7 move, white went knight f5, bishop to g5, black wants to exchange the pieces, knight takes g5, h takes g5 and g4. So white cements the knight. You can never play bishop takes f5 due to g takes f5. And then white is just threatening rook g1, h4 and bishop h6. So after g4, black went g6, knight to g3, f6. Black keeps the position closed, but now rook to h1. Rook to f8. You can see that both players are just moving their pieces, but there is actually a big difference between them. Svetozar Gligoric seemingly moves his pieces because he doesn't have any active plan, but Bobby has a cunning plan and he plays king to g2, and he wants to burst open the position with h4 and then bring the rook to h1. Rook to f7, pawn to f3. Before white continues with his plan of h4, he first plays f3, he defends the g4 pawn. Knight to f8, h4. Now after h4, white wants to go h takes g5, h takes h4, rook takes h4, and after rook to h7, white went rook h1. Rook takes h4, rook takes h4. And this position is actually winning for white. There is no active plan for black, as I've already mentioned. After rook takes h4, all white wants to do is bishop h6, knight f1, queen f2, queen g3 and queen h3, and you can't really save this position, but Smyslov actually tries to continue the game. He went g5. Rook to h6, and after rook to h6, Svetozar Gligoric was very tired of defending a losing position. He went king to g7, and here Bobby makes one move, and it was after that move that Svetozar Gligoric resigned the game. After king to g7, white goes rook takes f6, and believe it or not my friends, black actually resigned in this position. Why did he resign the position? It seems like the rook can be captured, but in reality it cannot. If black goes king takes f6, then white can go bishop takes g5. The queen is defending the bishop. So after king g6, bishop takes d8, and white has just won the queen. If you go queen takes f6, then white can go knight h5 here, king f7 and then knight takes f6. What a brilliant miniature, my friends. If your opponent makes a slight inaccuracy or tactical nuances, take some time, analyze the specifics of the position, and try to come up with a useful plan in which you can render your opponent helpless. After this bishop to b7 move, Bobby was clearly aware of the Rh specifics. He went knight to g3 immediately, and then it was all Bobby. Thank you for watching the video till the end, friends. I will be visiting you more chess videos on opening chess traps, puzzles, in-game strategies very soon. So subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any of my future content. Thank you.